I'm Eric Anderson. Tonight on KPBS Evening Edition, meet the next generation of leaders from both sides of the border.
We're becoming such a big population of the U.S. that it has to be acknowledged.
There is hands-on training in policymaking, and the teenagers tackle problems that have stumped adults.
And the day before Independence Day, California's Utility Commission is poised to vote on a new ratepayer plan. I'm Peggy Pico with how the vote could increase your energy bill. Then support for working moms hit an all-time high. A new study explains why and the impact of moms in the workforce.
They are ready to ride the race, challenging cyclists around the country, how they travel hundreds of miles without leaving home. KPBS Evening Edition starts right now. Good evening. Thanks for joining us. Dwayne Brown is off. They are ready to continue to call San Diego home for now. Today, Mayor Kevin Faulconer and Comic-Con announced a deal that the Pop Culture Convention would be staying in San Diego through 2018. KPBS arts reporter Beth Accomando has details.
This morning, an exhibit of comic book art at the San Diego Public Library provided the perfect backdrop for a press conference held by the mayor's office and San Diego Comic-Con International.
Comic-Con is here to stay in San Diego for another 2 years, ladies and gentlemen.
In recent years, a media frenzy has surrounded the expiration of each of Comic-Con's contracts with the San Diego Convention Center. The current contract was about to expire in 2016, but negotiations were still going on just a few days ago, says Comic-Con spokesperson David Glanzer.
I will be honest, it was touch and go for a while, and while the process has not always been easy, it was always productive.
Productive enough to lead to Comic-Con signing a deal to stay in San Diego through 2018.
I cannot thank the mayor enough for his personal determination to have this end on a positive note for all involved. It was his leadership, along with the enthusiastic assistance of the Convention Center and the San Diego Travel Authority, who worked alongside so many hoteliers to make sure that we could stay in San Diego through 2018. While it's no secret that we have outgrown the Convention Center space, our ability to expand into what I like to call the Comic-Con campus is really a direct result of the dedicated efforts of each of those entities.
Mayor Kevin Faulconer acknowledged the convention's contribution to San Diego.
It is very important to our local San Diego economy. The more than $135 million that Comic-Con pumps into our economy helps support jobs, roads, neighborhood services.
This year's Comic-Con kicks off with preview night next Wednesday. Beth Accomando, KPBS News.
With Comic-Con dollars on the line, Uber and Lyft, those ride-sharing services, have hammered out a deal with the airport to begin picking up passengers at Lindbergh Field. That's in advance of the convention. KPBS reporter Megan Burks has more.
Both mobile-based car services are expected to submit their applications for airport permits, and an airport spokeswoman says they could be operational as early as tonight. This comes after the airport board agreed in a special meeting Wednesday to change some of the sticking points in its rideshare policy. In April, the airport cleared the way for rideshare companies to operate at Lindbergh Field, but only a small company called Opoly took advantage of the offer. Uber and Lyft were holding out for a deal more to their liking. The big compromise is that the airport will let Uber and Lyft continue using their existing background checks for drivers. The airport previously wanted to clear the drivers in a second background check, and the airport will continue to ban curbside pickup. Rideshare companies will have to meet their customers in terminal parking lots. Megan Burks, KPBS News.
A popular home-sharing website will charge tourist taxes to users in San Diego. A report from the San Diego Union Tribune says Airbnb will start collecting taxes on July 15th. This change comes after some hosts declined to pay taxes on their own. The city is still working to clarify the rules for short-term rentals. Airbnb also collects taxes in other cities like San Francisco and Chicago. San Diegans, along with all electricity users, are bracing for changes to their electric bill. A key vote goes before California regulators tomorrow. It would be the first change in residential rates since energy brownouts roiled the state 15 years ago. Peggy Pico has more on what's at stake.
The California Public Utilities Commission scheduled the rate increase vote on the day before the July 4th holiday in Sacramento. And late last night, CPUC President Michael Picker made significant revisions in his 372-page rate change proposal. Joining me with what this could mean for your electric bill are my guests, SDGE's Amber Albrecht, and from the Sierra Club, Marta Stopker. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
Now, Amber, right now, SDGE customers, I understand, pay their energy bill on a 4-tiered rate structure. Those who use the least amount pay the least amount per kilowatt, and those prices go up as customers' usage go up. That's correct, right?
Yes, right now we have 4 tiers.
Okay, so how would that change if the plan backed by SDGE, the one that you guys like, how would that change if it's approved by the CPUC tomorrow?
So right now we do have the 4-tiered system, and it's pretty unfair. So we have 136% differential between our lowest tiers and our highest tiers. And we have customers who are paying $300, $400, $500 energy bills. And when you're on a fixed income, when we see these 39% of customers who make less than $75,000, that is a huge burden on our customers. So what we see right now with one of the decisions the Commission is looking at would be lowering that differential of between Tier 1 and Tier 2 to 25%, and then establishing a 3rd tier that would be the super energy user tier that would really get to those customers who are just using too much.
Okay, so what about I understand there was a $10 flat rate fee that there was a lot of debate over on that. Is that still included in these plans?
There has been a lot of discussion about the fixed fee. We really believe the fixed fee is key to helping to really lower these energy rates. However, this decision really rejects it at this time, but puts it down the road, given a number of things that would need to occur before we could establish a fixed fee. So that conversation will continue after tomorrow.
And we'll come back to that as well. But people might say, okay, look, this means that the people that are using the highest amount of energy, these ratepayers in a different system, aren't going to have to pay for it. And the people who are using the lowest amount, their prices are going to go up. The people who are using the highest amount, their prices are going to go down. So why not just leave the system the way it is right now?
Well, I would love to, it's really funny to hear that, because we get calls every single day about my energy bill is too high. Why am I paying so much? It's $400, it's $500. This is a burden. It's not fair. SDGE fix this. And that is what we're trying to do, because the way it's set up today, it assumes that those customers in the highest tier are just using energy to use energy. But that's not true. Customers in those highest tiers, a lot of them are using energy because they live in these warmer climates. They're using more energy just to stay cool. They have other devices that they need this energy for.
And we'll come back to some of these plans, but I want to get Marta in on this. So the CPU's Commission President Picker, he came up and made these revisions late last night. What are some of the key arguments against that plan, the revised plan?
Well, I think it's first important to point out that this is a really big plan, and these revisions were made last night, and there's thousands of line edits, and I think for us first, it's like, we've been working on this for 3 years. Give us some time to review this plan and also allow the public to weigh in. They made all these changes. They're doing it the day before a federal holiday, and they're not live streaming the vote anymore, so we can't even watch it. So for us, it's like, we've been working so hard on this, like, just give us some time to understand what's in it, because from first glance for us, it looks very similar to the first proposal that Picker put out, and we don't like that.
And what proposal does the Sierra Club support, or do they support a particular proposal?
Yes, we really like what Commissioner Florio introduced as an alternate. We think it's far better for our customers. It does give high energy users some relief, but it doesn't raise costs on low energy users so much so that they're going to be hurt. Their wallets will be hurt. And it also completely rejects a fixed charge. It doesn't revisit it down the line. It's not happening.
And why would that fixed charge be rejected?
Because for us, we look at it as a way to hurt conservation efforts.
I see.
If it's raising energy bills, people are not going to be able to reduce that cost if they use less, if it's a fixed charge. So for us, it's like, if you're forced to pay more, why would you want to use less energy?
But I want to give you a chance to respond to that. It has something to do with supporting the grid, correct? But solar energy, people say, hey, look, you're dinging us, even though we're using less energy because we've got solar.
The fixed charge is about supporting the grid. It's making sure we have a way to continue to provide the most reliable electricity in the country. So, and one thing I want to point out is the fixed charge doesn't raise electricity bills. The fixed charge is revenue neutral. It's just a different way of collecting what our customers currently pay in their energy rates. And there are utilities that already have these charges. There's electric utilities that already have these charges. So it's really nothing new.
All right, so unfortunately we're out of time. There's a whole lot more about this on our website, kpbs.org. Marta and Amber, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
San Diego City officials are bracing for a holiday flood. Hundreds of thousands of beachgoers coming to the beach this 4th of July weekend. And clean water advocates hope to keep trash out of the ocean. San Diego's beaches were a frequent disaster area after long summer holiday weekends. The city just wasn't prepared for the tons of garbage the crowds were leaving behind.
So a decade ago, if you would come out to the beach beforehand, it was pristine, it was clean. After these holiday weekends, it was covered in couches, trash, styrofoam coolers, and really just saturated with people's belongings. People 10 years ago were bringing these items and just leaving them at the beach.
Martinson's group is delivering 100 trash and recycling bins to the city's most popular beaches. She says the city's regular garbage infrastructure just gets overwhelmed. City crews plan to be out early Monday morning, cleaning up after the crowds are gone, and they could be getting help from the city attorney's office. People ticketed for drinking, smoking, or littering will be able to avoid steep fines by agreeing to community service.
Last year alone, we had nearly 60 individuals voluntarily complete the community service hours, which contributed to nearly 350 hours of trash pickup in our beach community on the Monday after 4th of July.
City officials also say people at home can help keep beaches clean by keeping trash and fluids out of the storm drain system. Storm drains flow directly into the ocean. A colorful mural may help inspire the community around Libby Lake up in Oceanside. The vibrant work of art was dedicated this week. Project Outreach teams from Vista Community Clinic pitched in to paint it. Libby Lake has been troubled with gang violence. 2 fatal shootings in the last 4 years left 4 young people dead. The mural shows a girl graduating from high school and then returning to help her community. Local high school senior Alondra Ochoa designed the mural. New numbers show fewer state residents have been admitted to the University of California campuses, the UC system accepting more than 92,000 freshmen for the fall. About 60% of California applicants were offered a spot at one of UC's 9 campuses. That is down from nearly 63% last year. And the number of non-residents accepted grew to more than 15,000. At UC San Diego, more than 92% of the transfer students admitted are coming from California community colleges. Mexican and U.S. officials want more cross-border collaboration, and it's been happening at the University of San Diego. KPBS Fronteras reporter Jean Guerrero tells us the collaborators are teenagers that are taking on some tough topics.
16-year-old Lucia Regina Reyes Gonzalez came to San Diego from Monterrey in Mexico. At the Lorenzo de Zavala Youth Legislative Session, she helped run the mock Senate as lieutenant governor. Students debated proposals related to the Hispanic community. Reyes was relaxed and authoritative, typing away at her magenta pink MacBook with matching nails.
Before I came to this program, I couldn't stand in front of an audience. I would shake, my voice would shake, I would become all red.
The students here seem like normal high school teenagers, but they're talking about big issues even adults haven't been able to solve, like high school dropout rates and unemployment. The National Hispanic Institute runs this program to train the Latino leaders of the future. The border blurs in this binational Senate. Proceedings are bilingual, with students discussing proposals in Spanish and English. Reyes says there's a high bar for proposals to get passed.
A proposal, first of all, needs to be realistic, and it needs to be based in a 1-year period, that it can be implemented in a 1-year period. and it also needs to be asset-based.
That means it can't be focused on a problem in the Latino community. It must leverage a strength, such as strong family values. Reyes' proposal called for teacher-to-teacher and student-to-teacher collaborative training within Latin American schools to capitalize on all available talents. It passed.
All those against, the motion clearly passes.
Another proposal called for a social media campaign that would publicize the assets of Latino communities.
So what we want is to get like the good things of the Latino community, and from there on, like, build something.
Students participated in everything from mock electoral speeches to mock Supreme Court trials.
We feel that any leader, regardless of their race or ethnicity, is going to need to have a deep understanding of Latino identity and issues facing the Latino community if they're going to be an effective leader.
That's Olivia Travieso, Operations Director for the California Legislative Session. She says anyone can participate, despite the focus on Latino issues. 17-year-old Renata del Riego was born in Mexico City, but now lives in San Diego. She's a student at High Tech High Chula Vista.
I am a Supreme Court justice.
She wanted to be a fashion designer as a little girl, but now she's interested in human rights.
Living in the border definitely impacted the route that I want to take in life, because I literally live next to the border and I see how families are separated.
She wrote a proposal calling for the creation of a permanent border meeting point where deportees in Mexico can hug their relatives in the U.S. without a fence dividing them. The proposal was not passed because it was deemed unrealistic.
I think everything's getting backed up in the Senate.
Over at the House of Representatives, 16-year-old Diego Sosa Fundora had been elected Speaker of the House.
Environment Committee just got done with the first reading for this proposal.
He was born in Cuba and attends a high school in Chicago. He says he dreams of creating an organization to promote Latino leadership in math and science.
We're becoming such a big population of the U.S. that it has to be acknowledged, and we need leaders and people to make sure that Latinos grow and make sure that Latinos build off of their strong points to be even greater than they already are.
Let me see. Can I see your proposal?
17-year-old Citlali Toscano shuffled through papers at the House of Representatives. She'd come all the way from Guadalajara in Mexico.
I'm the clerk, so I'm basically the secretary, and what I have to do is keep track of the proposals that pass and the ones that don't.
She says the program has made her realize the importance of collaboration and teamwork on Latino issues.
What the program tries to teach us is that we're a very strong community and that we need to reinforce that.
Jean Guerrero, KPBS News.
San Diego Chargers tight end Antonio Gates has violated the NFL's policy on performance-enhancing substances. He's going to be suspended without pay. Today, the NFL said in a statement that Gates won't be allowed to play the first 4 games of the season. Gates has apologized to the team and fans. He blamed his positive test on medicines that he used to recover from last season, and he says he was unaware that those medicines contained a banned NFL substance. A statement from the team, by the way, says they express support for Gates. The Chargers wrote they're confident he'll be ready to play when Gates is allowed to return to active duty on October 5th. Support for working mothers is at an all-time high, says a new study from San Diego that tracks changing social attitudes. Peggy Pico finds out what's behind the change and its impact on kids.
San Diego State researchers looked at the changes in societal support of working mothers since the 70s and the impact of working mothers on their children. Joining me with the details are Kelly Jenkins-Pultz, Women's Bureau Analyst with the U.S. Department of Labor, and SDSU psychology professor Jean Twenge, a lead investigator in the study and author of the book Generation Me. Now, Jean, you researched how teenagers and adults feel about working moms. What were some of your key findings?
So the data go all the way back to the 70s, and they ask questions about whether children will be harmed if their mothers work and if working moms can develop a close relationship with children. And it's a pretty big change. So it's a question about, will a preschool child suffer if his or her mom works? And among adults in the 70s, about 68% said, yeah, I think they would, but that was only 35% by the time we got to the 2010s.
Was there anything that you could find that showed you why the support shift happened?
Well, Certainly, there's been more emphasis on tolerance and equality, so gender equality over time. And then it could also be just that more women have been working. And so for that reason alone, acceptance would have increased.
Did you see the growth as linear as it steadily climbed, or were there kind of some ups and downs?
Yeah, there were a few ups and downs. So there was a little bit of a backslide in the late 1990s. Working moms were, at that time, that was kind of, I don't know, kind of the last vestiges of that being controversial. And then by 2000, from 2000 to 2012, just continued to go up in terms of acceptance.
So Kelly, how many mothers are part of the U.S. labor force?
Well, we have 31 million working moms in the workforce today, and that's up dramatically from the 1970s when we had about 46% of all mothers were in the workforce, and now 70% of all working moms are in the workforce.
Yeah, so what types of jobs do moms tend to go for, or are they in? Is there an average income or a wage for these working mothers?
Working mothers tend to earn lower wages than women in general. And we still see that working mothers earn wages that are lower than working fathers. So still a bit of a challenge for women that are balancing both home and family and getting ahead in the workplace.
Is there a wage gap specifically you can tell us, and why would that be?
Yes. On average, all working women compared to all working men earn about 82% of men's weekly wages, but working mothers compared to working fathers only earn about 74% of working fathers' wages. So a pretty big gap.
Just from your research, do you think there's a reason for that?
A reason for the wage gap?
Sure, for working moms versus women who are working, that particular gap, right? So women are working, but the moms are still getting paid much less than the other women who are working.
Well, a lot of times they work fewer hours.
Yes.
And sometimes that's by choice. And there's lots of other reasons too.
Yeah. Well, that brings me back to you, Kelly. Is there a particular type or a trend on the types of jobs that mothers tend to have?
Our data doesn't look specifically at how their jobs differ compared to the jobs of all women, but when you look at all women, what you see is that there's still quite a bit of occupational segregation. Women are still much more likely to be in healthcare, in teaching, in professional jobs that require education, but not necessarily the higher paying STEM jobs, science, technology, engineering, math, still few women in the trades.
I see. Now, Jean, why did you want to study attitudes toward working mothers here in 2015?
Yeah, well, I study generational differences, and generational differences are based in cultural change. And arguably, one of the biggest ways our culture has changed is not only do more women work, but more mothers with young children work. That's had a big effect on lots of people's lives. So it would be great to try to document some of the changes in attitudes.
There have been some other studies about the effects of working mothers over the years, and they've shown some mixed results. A new Harvard study out recently, though, actually found that daughters of working moms are more likely to succeed in their career and earn higher salaries than daughters of non-working moms. So what do you think the impact of that study is? Why do you think that is?
Definitely role models. You can't underestimate the importance of women having really strong role models.
And what do you think the impact is of working mothers on their children, especially daughters?
Yeah, well, we found in our study that those who had a working mom growing up were more supportive working mothers. So they were saying, well, this is the way it was growing up, and yeah, I wasn't harmed by that, and that may have also, resulted in them having a good role model for work, and that may be one of the reasons they're more supportive.
All right, Professor Jean Twenge and Kelly Jenkins-Fultz, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Judy Woodruff. On the next News Hour, we kick off a two-part look at the Grateful Dead, starting with drummer Mickey Hart's quest to replicate the sounds of the universe. That's Thursday on the PBS News Hour.
One of Sesame Street's most iconic characters is saying goodbye. Sonia Manzano announced she is retiring from the show after a 44-year run. She broke the news during a speech at a conference for the American Library Association. She played Maria, one of the owners of the neighborhood repair shop. Manzano also served as a writer for the show. She shared in 15 Emmy Awards. Maria has already moved on from Sesame Street, and she will not be back for the new season. Retired seniors at Frederica Manor in Chula Vista are competing in their own version of the Tour de France. KPBS reporter Claire Tregeser says they're riding stationary bikes for their health and to beat out other teams.
Joanne Papadakis is a national record holder. The 81-year-old biked 259 miles in the month of May, topping every other woman in her age group.
I like the feeling when I get off the bike that the endorphins are running through my body. You have a good feeling. The days that you ride, there's just a great feeling.
The Frederica Manor resident is competing in the cybercycle challenge. It allows cyclists to hop on special stationary bikes that let them ride against others across the country. Their avatars follow virtual courses with hills, valleys, and scenery.
I have spent 15 days of my life on that bike.
Elsie Marini has biked 360 hours total so far, or the equivalent of 15 days.
So I'm sort of addicted to bike riding. If I don't do it, then I miss it.
In June, both women slipped behind another rider from a retirement community in Anaheim, but they will be pumping their legs to edge back into first place this month. Frederica Manor exercise physiologist Stacy Buffington says competition helps motivate her team.
And it really brought our team together as a community.
Claire Tregesser, KPBS News.
Frederica Manor is an underwriter for KPBS. Looking ahead to a warm holiday weekend this weekend. Cloudy skies by the beaches with 70 temperatures. Temperatures in the 70s, 80s in the inland valleys. It's going to be breezy in the mountains with temperatures in the 80s and triple digits out in the desert. Here's a look at what we're working on for tomorrow in the KPBS newsroom. On Morning Edition, California has a shortage of primary care doctors, but nurse practitioners won't be allowed to fill the gap just yet. We'll have more on the measure that fell short at the state capitol. That's tomorrow on KPBS Radio. You can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org/evening edition. Thanks very much for joining us. We'll be back here again tomorrow night. Have a great evening.